garage, another day of working. So, before I put the transaxle in, I have off my 90-degree gearbox one pulley and then the transaxle pulley right here. And I want that to remain tight all the time, and I want to be able to adjust the tightness in case it gets wet and I need to add more pressure. So, I'm going to add a pulley, I guess, or another bearing that's going to go in between the two pulleys and push down on the belt to add more tension. So, before I put the transaxle in, I'm going to start building that. What I decided to use was this kind of just a metal off a car or something. It was just an idler pulley, has a good bearing in it, but the only issue is this ID hole is like 16.5 mils, and that's just too big to run a bolt in there, and I don't have that bolt. So I have this nice little bronze bushing. I just laid it down, and now I'm going to get the bolt in there, and I can start building my bracketry, and I'll show you guys that once I get that going. But let's get to it. So now that I have my pulley, my idler pulley, that puts tension on the rear transaxle belt in there, this is pressed in very tight. I left a little bit of room in here just so that my washer actually hits the bearing, and the back side's pressed onto this side of the bearing. So now I'm faced with the issue of I need this to move up and down, and I just want to tighten a bolt, and I have to do this in the frame. So I just want to put one of my adjustable wrenches on the what is that? That's a wall. On the wall there, grab my adjustable wrench, and I just want to go on top of this through the frame, and I just want to go back and forth to move this up and down. So I'm going to do that with a chunk of ready rod, some nuts and bolts, and I got to build a little A-frame around this guy that has 2 nuts on it that will move up and down on the ready rod. Let's get building. I'll show you guys what my idea is. Right, so just had a little vacation. Finally had some time off with the lady friend. We went down to Saskatchewan. Anyways, getting back into Musty. I'm working on this pulley like I was showing you guys, and I decided to take off my brakes and explain it just while it's out. Alright, so this was my old setup on the mower. And don't get me wrong, this setup worked phenomenally, but with the way it worked and having to use the whole lever to pull, when I'm going down an angle that's steep on the right side, because it's a right-hand brake, I would have to put all my weight on the lever. And it's hard to put your weight on the lever and pull back. So sometimes you might have seen I was two-handing the steering wheel because my steering's tight, going down hills, and sometimes it gets a bit scary with the tight steering setup I have on Musty and having that brake setup. So I'm going to change it to like Magnum where it's just a squeeze grip. So this old setup, it used a piston cylinder here, so you pushed on this, it pressed fluid all the way down to your caliper, and then I made a bracket that fit onto my frame that would go onto the disc that is on the side of the transaxle like I was showing you guys earlier. And with the nice advantage of this setup is you have the external reservoir, and I had that plumbed outside of the mower up at a right angle so it wasn't leaking. Let this system once while I installed it and never had to touch it again. So, and it, like as you guys can see, it's been through some shit. This was under my wheel well, so it's seen all the mud and dirt, and like my bushing here, that like my seals, all good. So if you guys are looking to upgrade your brake setup, this setup's really good. I'd also suggest the new setup I got, and I'll show you guys that in a second here. So the new setup's pretty similar, but different. So that whole setup now is actually installed into the lever. And all I have to do is squeeze this lever. It squeezes a tiny little rod in here, and it pushes fluid, your brake fluid, down your line. So I got a new one. It's blue because I thought it'd be cool to do nice and flashy. Using my exact same caliper. It already works. The bracket I made works. I'm just going to leave this whole setup because the blue Ford I'll be working on in a bit, and it needs hydraulic brakes for my lady friend, so she's going to get my old setup. I'll show you guys how I'm going to do the tube work to actually hold this unit, and then I'll show you the plumbing of that later. But anyways, let's get back to building that tension guide for the rear pulley. Alright, let's check it out. Nice spinny. The only issue is it's kind of big. Kind of fits in my hand because I don't have a smaller pulley. And the other issue is, I want to fit this guy somewhere in there. I'm running into frame, top of the bottom side, but it's hitting the top of the nut here. Sorry, hitting the top of the nut. So I'm trying to stuff this somewhere in there and actually make it up and down adjustable. Anyways, I think you guys get the point here, what I'm trying to achieve. Something very unneeded, I guess. I could just run a tight belt and not worry about this, but frick it, I'm gonna do it. That's why we do stuff here. Anyways, let's get to it. I'm gonna start notching the frame, start building a bracket. I think I'm gonna use a chunk of this stuff. Honestly, it's just gonna make more sense once I start doing it, so let's get to it. Alright, so I've cut the frame, and I'm starting to fit some pulleys in, because I'm moving that one up and down in between this transaxle pulley and the gearbox pulley. So one thing I wanted to mention here is I got a cast alloy pulley, which kind of sucks. They wear out. The inside of the keyway here always wears out over time, but that's all we have, and they're fairly cheap. They're like 15 bucks. One day I'll order some casts, and we'll call it our day. But something you can do to increase your chances of not having this thing screw up or warp as much or get worn out on the inside is they leave a second little knob on here. So this is the factory pin. It's an Allen key lock screw that locks onto the keyway, and I just drilled and tapped a lock pin on the other side as well. So you can see that will just hit the round part of the shaft, but it will help out for locking it on and stopping it from moving. I'm gonna throw Loctite on both those and we'll call it a day. So quick tip, always trying to help you guys out, keep your mower more reliable and functional out on that trail. So let's get this pulley installed and get some measuring done and see what we got going down, I guess. Alright, so it's time to go over a few parts that I made. Obviously you guys seen this piece. Alright, so this is the spinny. This is actually what puts pressure on the belt. I have my 3/4 inch ready rod here. I just laid down this nut, and I welded I drilled a hole in here so that I can weld this onto the ready rod to actually lock it down. So the idea is when I thread this into here, set, so let's say that's how far roughly I'm gonna put it in, because the belt doesn't run through here, it runs on the bottom. So I'll weld this onto here. Alright, so then I built this little guy. So it's just a piece of 1/2 inch tubing here, inside diameter with a square, like I was showing you guys, and a flat bar with a hole, flat plate with a hole. That's gonna slide on there. So now I have a rig. Now, once this is locked into here onto the ready rod, this doesn't spin. And this ready rod won't actually move up and down. It'll just be this two, because there's two nuts inside of this little setup right here that will be able to move this back and forth, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna weld this nut here and then another one up here so that when I spin this, it will only move this up and down. Now, the only issue I'm gonna face is, I don't know if you guys could see that, but I just have the tiniest bit of movement, and that's obviously just in the threads themselves. Now, my idea is I'm gonna take a chunk of this little tube here I have, and a couple chunks of this little dowel I have, and actually put the tube in the corners like this so that I can run this little tube inside once I laid this down inside here back and forth, so that this won't spin, like try and move like that, like try and rotate. Ryan rotate. Who's Ryan rotate? You guys know him? Tag him. Anyways, try and rotate in the frame itself. Alright, so lots of little stuff going on here. Definitely just looks like a caster wheel, but it's not. I'm gonna have this actually lock into the frame because it's a hexagon shape. It has two flat sides. Well, it has more than that, but two flat sides I can use. I'll line that up in line here, and then this will actually slide up and down in the frame so that will also stop the movement. Alright, so lots going on here. Like you guys can see, I'm gonna get back to getting it all put together. Let's get it done. Hope you guys are liking this. Alright, so working on my little 50s Craftsman lathe here, and I laid down those pins that I was talking about. Hold on, we'll get it to adjust. Those pins. So 2 pins, 2 sleeves. Now these will slide in here very nice, and you'll see where I weld those on to my pressure pulley in a second. Let's get that done. Hey everyone. Hope you guys are having a good day. This is another day starting. I've already started the work. Let's get to it. I'm gonna show you what I got done today, and it's awesome. Check it out. Alright, so we got those pins lathed up and welded in, as you can see in there. Kind of looks like quite the monstrosity, and it is, but it works phenomenally. So I'll set up the camera and show you guys the up and down mode. Let's get it installed and see how it works. Let's get that transaxle on, because I've been wanting to put that in, and people are going camping this weekend. I kind of feel like bringing the mower out. So let's see what happens. Let's get to it though. Alright, so all painted up. There it is. My adjustable tension pulley. Alright, so I left this down here for welding, because I still got to weld this onto the frame. Just twist this with 3/4 inch ratchet wrench and you're good to go. This will go up and down without moving due to my 2 guides, and it's very strong and straight because of the 2 guides there. So rock on. I'm gonna get this welded up in the frame. We'll see what it looks like. Unreal though. I love this shit. Check that out. Right, it doesn't really look like much, just a pulley up in there, but man, it turned out really good. So I just got tack welded in the frame right now, so that you can see right in behind, or in front of my gas tank, beside my shifter hole, and in front, or behind, what the hell, behind my storage box there. So, super simple. All I have to do is pull out my ammo box, come in here with the ratchet wrench there, and move this up and down. So you can see the pulley in the bottom there. I'm gonna run some beads on here and call her a day right there. Super sweet. So all I gotta do is bend this little tabs a little more straight, because the frame's all warpy, so I'm just gonna straighten that all out. But other than that, that's freaking awesome. So hope that works. Next thing to do, I guess, is kind of get the transaxle ready to go in the frame, and get the skid plate back on. Either way, this is coming along really good. I'm really excited for Musty. This is a whole new Musty now. Like you guys seen with the front end and the newer engine, and like a whole new front end again. Having such a nice front setup has been so awesome for the few rips I've done, and I can't wait to have the best setup I could have in this rig for what I have. I mean, I could go all out, but it's just, I can't do that right now, just the way I'm living and what the parts we are given. So I'm making do, and I think I'm doing pretty damn well. Good thing I have one of these units right here, and good thing I got a pretty decent sized brain, or at least I like to think that. Alright, let's get back to this. I'm getting excited with every piece I weld on here, so let's do this. Alright, so that's fully extended. You can see the gap from the bolt to the frame there, and I'll show you what fully collapsed looks like, or pulled all the way up. There's fully pulled in. So it's about 3/4 inch of difference, but I'm going to start off with the belt already tight on this pulley, so any more down pressure is going to make it very tight. So as you guys just seen there, got the diff all put in. My bracket kind of got a little bent, I guess, somewhere on whenever. So I had to just rebend that, as you seen. Anyways, check that out. Alright. Alright. Transaxle's looking beefy. It's looking awesome. Everything on this is looking awesome. So you get under that 90-degree box, that's looking killer. Further up, the clutch. And then damn, that front axle. Awesome. I gotta get my brake set up on, my guard. I gotta fix this hub. Obviously, I just gotta take that over to my girlfriend's dad's house, and he's gonna help me braze that up with the oxyacetylene set up there, so we'll get that all fixed up, so don't worry about that. Anyways, let's get this last pressure pulley setup on and see what belt setup I'm running. Another thing, check that out. 1, 2 Allen key locks, just like the other pulley here. So it's always good to run a double if you can. It will definitely help. So let's get that installed, see what the belt setup looks like. Well, I had to use a piece of wire to figure out my belt size, or at least get close, and it looks like I don't actually have the very close to the right size belt, but you guys can get the idea here. So the belt's somewhat tight. I mean, it's still loose, but it's just, you understand what's going on here. But check that out. That's a lot of circumference of the belt wrapping around, and that was the whole idea. The more belt you have around, like more surface area of your belt that's touching the pulley, the more grip you're gonna have. Therefore, the more torque and the more power you gain. So by applying the pressure in the center, I'm gonna gain both more traction on there and on there. More surface area, the better. So super sweet. Again, that's pretty freaking awesome. All right, so that means you lined up pretty good. Pretty stoked on that, and I'm pretty stoked on how this is all looking. All right, I'm packing up for the day. Time to go chow some wings and eat some, All right, I'm packing up for the day, so it's time to go chow some wings and drink some beers. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and we'll get some more work done. Cheers.